The new Prime Minister Liz Truss's new economic program, and not just the controversial tax cuts, are triggering the globalist elite as they show their outrage from the World Economic Forum and the European Union to the IMF. Yes, the global consensus is not really going too well. And firstly, as we've seen, Sweden, the lefties lost establishment. And then yesterday, the last couple of days, we had Italy losing the establishment, the globalist mentality. That aside, Liz Truss, the new Prime Minister, she announced a new budget. The budget had some good stuff in it, and it had some flaws. One of the problems I had was, you're doing the tax cuts, you also need to actually announce if there's going to be any budget cuts when it comes to the waste in Whitehall, all the departments. That aside, the whole of the economic vision, the radicalism, is going against the globalist mentality. And first you've had the likes of Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum showing outrage because of the wave that's coming against globalist consensus. Then you've had even the European Central Bank and Lagarde. That's another situation, of course. And then you've also had now the head of the IMF briefing the papers and the media around the world, saying, well, this is the end of the world as we know it. Yes, Reuters announced earlier that the IMF are saying that the UK fiscal measures will likely increase inequality. Okay, don't pretend that you care about inequality or the issue itself. This is not really about that, is it? Because we already had the head of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, who came out and said, well, we're freaking out because everything is becoming decentralized again. You got the crypto movement going around, and they say, well, we need to introduce digital currencies that central banks actually control. That's always the game. Right now, when you had the pound reacting badly a few days ago, as well as, of course, other currencies against the dollar, and everyone was like, oh, it's just the pound. It wasn't just the pound. Obviously, pound went lower because of the shock of the budget, but of course, it was the dollar that was going up because of the injections that was happening. Now the pound is coming up, yet the euro and other currencies are still going down because the brainwashing of the globalist mentality has been successfully done over the last few decades. That everything you hear on social media, newspapers, the academics, everyone who goes on TV want to make you think that people like Liz Truss are the devil and they don't know anything about economics and the whole country is going down. It's not really true, is it? Now they've had the IMF coming to say, we are closely monitoring recent economic developments in the UK and are engaged with the authorities. Why do we live in this world where we don't really have actual sovereignty anymore? Everything's run from the top, the globalist entities getting involved with other countries' affairs because it's easier to have a big umbrella of nations. Really? You do realize each nation and each culture has different requirements and different situations. If you want to basically treat everyone like a blanket policy, the whole world, you want to have one world government maybe, you want to have one president, it's not really going that well. The European Central Bank, as a model, has proved that centralizing EU finances and banking in Europe has caused trouble. Now, the consensus is this. Liz Truss and her new Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng, are going against it. Now, of course, you're going to have Klaus Schwab freaking out against Liz Truss. Of course, you're going to have the head of IMF. Of course, you're going to have the European Union people freaking out because she's not listening to them. And this is going to be completely creating a massive earthquake if she succeeds. These are not politically popular decisions. So she could lose the next election. Of course she can. Because it's not enough time to, as Jeremy Corbyn says, win the argument. You need to actually also win the argument or be patient like Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan and implement your policies and wish for the best. That you could win the election, the next election, and people can see the result of your policies. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm Tousi and we are the media.